Hi ho, Ozysturm from Down Under, a country Victorian gamer of Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, X-Wing, Dystopian Wars, Flames of War, BattleTech, and many other games besides. Tonight is just a very brief video. As some may be aware, I am currently working on doing a organised play event at my local gaming group here in Castlemaine Victoria. That is occurring this coming Saturday. So for those that are watching this in the future, it's the 7th of January 2024. Today, when I'm recording it, it is actually the 2nd of January 2024. So with doing this event, in my mind, there are two main factors. One, getting the players there. That is done via advertising, using social media like Facebook, local gaming clubs, trying to get the word out there to get the people to come. And for this, myself and also the guy that runs the club have been putting some posts into the regional gaming groups, namely in Bendigo, down in Ballarat, and also a general one in the Australian-wide Star Wars Legion. Now, I don't expect people from Canberra or from overseas to come to such a local event. Not really practical. But for those people that may only live maybe half an hour to an hour away, or those people that may happen to be visiting in the area, may want to stop in and have a look at this event. Both of them are perfectly reasonable, and we want to see those people. So that's step one, trying to get the people. How well we go, don't know. Step two of it is to make sure that the organisers, and that is being myself and another bloke that is also from the Castlemaine area, know what the game entails. And the best way of doing that is doing a practice run, doing a game or two, going through all the individual rules, making sure that we understand what it means to play the game and all its special rules. To that end, I have organised with this person to come over to my gaming table here in the shed tomorrow on the 3rd, after he finishes work. I'm currently on holiday, yay. But I will probably try and play a game with myself because I've already made 2 lists. One as an attacker, one as a defender. Now with the asset, the attacker, those that are theoretically, they have around about 800 points that they can spend. There are a number of restrictions, one being you can only have 1 commander, and you can only have up to 2 supports and up to 1 heavy support. Troops, you need 4 to 7. So slightly different than the normal play. You can't have any operatives, you can't have any special forces. That's fine. On the other hand, the actual defender has a lot of bonuses. I believe it's something like you can have at most up to 7 commanders or operatives. You can also have special forces. But the clarity is that you cannot have anything more than 6 units or 6 activations. This to allow for basically the game to run through the 6 rounds fairly quickly. There are some special rules as well in that with the asset, the base has 4 objective markers, whereby if your unit leader is touching one of them, it can do a search action and you draw from the equipment deck of 4 cards and you can get one of 4 unique abilities. One is ammo, Bacta, a repeater, heavy repeater rifle, and the other one is personal shield generator. And they have some limitations. So every time that you use them, you need to also roll a die afterwards. And if a symbol comes up for, I think it might be a shield, white shield on some of them. But either way, if it comes up with a shield icon, then it's ran out of whatever it is. The other thing is that it's played on a typical 3x3 table. It needs to have a center point. Then the markers need to be within 1 range ruler or 1 movement around the center point. You also have some terrain mixed around sort of thing. You got to make it like a base sort of thing. So have some hard cover, light cover, etc. Some, yeah. It's quite small and tight, but that's the way it goes. So I've got a list out on the table at the moment, which is my 800 point defender list. I'm an 800 point attacker list. My 600 point defender list I haven't got out yet, but the game that I'll play tomorrow, I'll try and do some video of it as well, and I'll show you that list as well. The defender list, the attacker list is led by Han Solo, with a unit of Fleet Trooper, a 2 unit of Rebel Troopers, 1 unit of Rebel Vanguard, 1 unit of Fleet Troopers. I also have some upgrades throughout all of it, grenades, intel, things to help me to get quicker across the board or into the center of the board to try and wipe out the defenders. I also have 2 AT-RTs, 1 with a flamethrower, so that should help me remove some of those that may have cover, armor. I'm thinking like Mandalorians, battle droids, those things that are quite heavy. And who doesn't like the idea of burning some Wookiees, maybe? But it depends on what I come up against. The heavy support, I've got a T-47 airspeeder. I was humming and hawing between fielding that and the land speeder, the X-46. The reason why I went for the T-47 is because I wanted to try it out. I haven't had a game with it yet, so this may work, but I'm going to have to be very careful about flying it around due to the fact that it has it's such a small space. I'm going to need to make sure that when I'm turning around to come back through the bases, when the heavies arrive, that I can. The other thing about the rule for the game is that essentially at the start of the game, I'm only able to field the troops and the commander. The likes of the heavy support comes in potentially on the second turn onwards, so I don't really have them to start off with. That gives me a bit more flexibility of getting the troops out of the way of where I want my supports and heavy support to come. The defender, however, sets up in the middle. It almost reminds me of the Flames of War battle, the Cauldron, which has all of its forces in the center, and all of the opponents just basically spread around outside, trying to converge into the center, much like a vice or a cauldron. And yeah, so I've set up the table so far. I have left alternative terrain pieces also just on the outside of the deployment zone. So once my friend comes over, he can look at the table. If he's happy, we can play with it as is. If he feels as though some of the terrain pieces are too big, because like I've got one building here that does take up a fair big space, and I think that maybe changing it to one of my smaller pieces of terrain might be appropriate, and I'll show that one to you in a second. But it gives a greater flexibility of being able to say, hey, this is a table, this is the terrain that I've got. You want to make adjustments? Go ahead. Anyway, so let's have a look at the table. So to start off with, I had to put these markers out over here to mark out a 3x3 grid, or a table size. Then I needed to work out the center, which is right where this guy is, right here, this control panel. And from there, everything will be deployed within one distance from it. It's then a case of the objectives being spread around players and see how we go. Now, this building right here is pretty large. I would not be surprised if that gets replaced by the smaller shuttle here to provide some hard cover, but a lot less footprint. The other one I think is pretty fine. Same thing with the generator. I've got some rocks here. I've also got a gateway, which may also be suitable, sort of thing. There's another large rock out the back. And generally, yeah. I do think that it's quite a nice small amount of force. I've also got these crates aside here. They will be for the objective markers. And as you can see, I've got the objective marker up there as well. On to what the defender has. As you can see, I've got Han Solo. He's going to field a couple of options. He's going to have, well, environmental gear, lead by example, and up close and personal. To that, I've got my fleet troopers. Let's go down here. My fleet trooper has an extra trooper and also a MPL 57 barrage trooper. To it, I've also added impact grenade and recon intel. Then the unit behind is 2 units of rebel troopers. One has the sniper as well as a medical droid. The other one has the Z14, Z46, Z6 trooper and a rebel officer. Behind that again, these are my vanguards. They have a rebel tech and also the CM Heavy CMO 93 Trooper, which is the Celeste right there. I also happen to have a medium repeater as my 5th troop. The 2 ATRTs, one with flamer, one with the laser, and the T-47. So that's the table and the unit that I'm going to do. With the attacker, it will probably, the defender I should say, it'll probably have Luke, Lando, and Sabine, Ahsoka, and a couple other bits and pieces. As for troops, I'm thinking, seeing I've got Sabine, it'll probably have Mandalorians sort of thing to give it a bit of oomph with some armor. The second unit that I will take with them will possibly be the commandos. I am pretty much limited to only those 2. The other option is maybe Pathfinders. I'll see what I want to do. Maybe Pathfinders could be a good idea because it gets me Bistin as well. Lastly, the other option that I have, other than Luke and Leia, Sabine, Ahsoka and stuff, is another model that I've just finished working on, which is Lando. Right there. Let's get him in. I've painted him pretty much like what you saw him at the Battle of Endor, flying around. So I think he looks pretty good. Haven't played with him yet, but all in all, I don't mind what I've done with him. With the nice purpley, very lightly shaded purple jacket. My friends should be arriving shortly to start the gameplay. I've set up the table same from last night, so I haven't done any more videos of it. So welcome back to the channel. I have had my friend come over and we have started playing a game of Star Wars Legion. His forces are the Separatists, led by Count Dooku, with Bosk and Cad Bane, plus 2 Magna Guards. While my defending force, as you may remember, is the Fleet Troopers, 2 unit of Rebel Troopers, Han Solo, medium repeater and veterans with the heavy support and 2 normal supports. We've had to play a little bit off camera
just so that we could work out the rules. And we're almost completed round 1, but we had to make a pause of it while we go and have tea. The main things that have already activated is that I've put a standby and an aim on my medium repeater. I've got a dodge on general hand solo. I am still waiting for the rest of them. What has he done? He's moved his Cad Bane and taken that objective token, which has turned out to be a heavy repeating blaster. And Grievous, being Grievous, has crawled up the wall and has revealed a ammo stash up there. Anyway, I am eagerly waiting his return from tea, and then we'll get on with doing some more games.
After round 1 finished, down came the rain, and as you know from the previous video clips, my roof is tin, so I've had to voice over this part. It was also getting quite late, so I had to do a summary video, which I'm inserting now. After round 2, the rain came down a lot heavier and made it very difficult to do any videos with lightning strikes around, possibly causing damage. There was also rain coming in along the edge of my garage door, so we pretty much continued to play, but we left the video off for a while. We wanted to get them all done so that my friend can get home at a reasonable time, even though he ended up staying until around about 11. All in all, the game resoluted in a victory for the attackers, namely my force of my General Solar, primarily because of his composition. His composition was with the 2 units of Magna Guards very much waiting for close combat. They didn't have too much in the way of a long range. Bosk and Cad Bane did do some damage, with Bosk taking out an entire unit that I didn't quite successfully defend, and I didn't take him off the table to replenish at all, thinking that if I took it off, Bosk would turn around and start moving towards the other side. So I kept them on, just hunkered down as a bit of a threat to that corner. But at the end, Bosk did destroy all of them. He did get wounded quite a bit from my other rebel troopers from that side and ended up being killed by that unit. I also had Cad Bane eventually got killed off by my veterans, simply because he had the heavy repeater, but one of the rules for the heavy repeater gun is that he had to remain attached to it, or else it's basically left there. It's like on a stand or whatever, but he couldn't move anywhere. If he did eventually move something like the 3rd or 4th turn away from it, that allowed the potential for one of his unit of Magna Guards to go across to grab a hold of it. Other things that occurred, well, my supports, when they eventually arrived, did cause a bit of damage. It was the actual ATRT that took out the last wound that was on Bosk, because unfortunately Bosk had a regeneration, and he managed to I got him down to, I think it was like one health left. And then he had regenerate 3 and he managed to get 2 of them back. Pretty much straight away. But then my ATRT came on with the laser and was able to basically take him out straight away with his last 3 remaining. He didn't end up finding the Medipack, which would have been helpful for him. And the final box that had the actual shield generator, he never got to. That would have significantly changed the game if he was able to have the shield generator up for a while. My take from it, if I was the attacker, I would definitely want some long-range weaponry. Whether it be from an operative like Chewie with the bowcaster, or from a unit like the Pathfinders, having that that A300 weapon that can swap between range 4, 3, or even the short range, the 2, I think it is. Yes. Having that greater flexibility of shooting long or short can be useful in a unit. And I'm going to do an attacker list having those types of ideas of trying to whittle down the attacker as they come towards me. As I was mentioning, I took a defender list this time on Sunday. My commander was Lando with improviser order as well as up close and personal. I left him pretty bare at 108 points in total so that I can have a bit more points for some of the other stronger units and heroes. To it, I also added a rebel officer, which is really cheap but still a nice operative. And for it, I gave the equipment portable scanner that will allow me to give a dodge token to a unit. I also gave him inspiring leadership, lead by example, I should say, which means that the Inspire 1 that the rebel officer has is now a Inspire 2, and combine that with having him close to the likes of the asset will allow my units and leaders to actually remove 2 to 3 potentially suppression tokens off in a turn, rather than just relying on the dice rolls to remove the suppression. I've found that idea is going to be better in that I'm going to take the suppression to get the covers and to mitigate wounds as best as possible, but I'm still going to get hurt. And if I'm down to only 1 action, that can really cause me issues, especially with some of them that rely on having both an aim or a dodge token to increase their abilities. So that's why I took the officer, and it came in quite nicely, points value at 59. Then I had Chewie, who was going to hang around near Lando and to provide him with the Guardian ability, with the Protector, also ducking cover, so I can take off some of those crit hits that was getting to Lando and potentially putting it on Chewie rather than having wounds taken off and using the Protector rule. I can then use dodge tokens to actually cancel out those crit hits. I also gave him targeting scopes so that if I happen to have a aim on him, that bowcaster becomes a lot more powerful. Or alternatively, if I was able to get Chewie to the objective that happened to have the likes of the heavy repeating gun, that would be rather nice as well. My last command operative choice was, of course, Sabine. I gave Sabine her personal combat shield, the dark saber, and also situational awareness. I took situational awareness, same reason why I gave Chewie Protector. Having that ability of putting a dodge on her and then being able to cancel out at least a crit when I remembered to put a dodge token on her is very important. The last two was a fairly easy choice for me. I chose the Mandalorian Resistance, not Clan Ren, because that's a lot more expensive, but the normal one. And to it, I gave fragmentation grenades up close and personal, so they can gain a dodge after they're shooting. And also emergency transponder. That also gave me the ability, when I activate, I can get a token. With an order token, I can gain extra tokens. The other one was, of course, the Pathfinders with also up close and personal, because I find those two units are going to be my main shooters to try and get rid of the opponent's trooper units as they're coming towards me. I also gave him the Pathfinder's Biston, because he's got a lot more powerful weapon. The impact grenades, just in case he got too close, I can use that to potentially take out a few things, as well as the case being when his heavy supports show up, I need something that will be able to get rid of armor. Anyway, this is the table from Sunday. Here we are on the Sunday. This is Cameron's attacker list. Very much exactly the same as what I have previously described earlier in this video. No major changes. The attacker, the defender, myself, I'm using the list that I've just described previously. The table setup itself, we did do it slightly differently, and we've moved it around a bit. Deployment-wise, the assets in the middle, I've got my Rebel Officer, which is a Endor Rex. To the side, the 4 objectives are those crates. I've got the Pathfinders above and the Mandalorians with Sabine below and Chewie with Lando. Around is his all deployment. At the end of round 1, I was able to completely take off the medium repeater, which was next to the Vanguard. 2 fleet troopers was also removed. He was able to charge his unit of troopers with the medical droid into the base area, but then I was able to move Sabine close. His other rebel trooper only lost 1, but is getting close into that range of being able to fire into the base a lot clearer. They are the models that I was able to take off, and he, as you can see, he was able to completely wipe my Mandalorians and quite a bit of my Pathfinders. So I don't have too many left in the center. At the start of round 2, I did sabotage communications while he did his hand 2 pip. End of round 2,
He managed to move his veterans up onto the top of the building because there was a ladder there. He got Han Solo into the base, but very much wounded with 3 suppressions on him. His heavy support had arrived. He was also able to remove all of my Pathfinders and do a wound on Rex. I was able to use Chewie to remove 3 more of his fleet troopers. Sabine, in her first activation, was able to wipe out that rebel trooper unit with the medical droid, and that gave Lando the ability to move down. The last unit here was still nice and strong and was able to basically get into a position to start some shots into Rex, Chewie, or Lando. Round 3 saw Cameron use his no pip while I used a 3 pip, so he gets initiative. I don't have a lot left. At the end of round 3, he still has his veterans all nice and strong. His speeder got a bit damaged by the Chewie with his bowcaster, which is nice. Rex is still there, but he's quite dangerous to dying. Sabine has moved closer in, as well as Lando has also moved around. Sabine has completely taken off the Rebel Trooper unit to the backside in the previous round, and now starting to move to challenge some of the either the Vanguard or maybe for the other trooper unit if he decides to move in. I also managed to kill off Han Solo, which is a bit of a surprise, but it's now getting down to the wire. We only have a few more rounds left, halfway through, but here's round 4. At this stage, I would have moved the veterans down because he needs to get to that objective. Luckily, Rex managed to find the medical kit and was able to heal up a little bit. The other AT-AT arrived, but I lost Chewie from that AT-AT coming in and lasering him. I only had like one more life and 2 more life on the rebel officer, etc. At the end of the game, it ended up being a win for me, primarily because he failed with his vanguards to do a rally step to get the extra movement to get to the asset. I had lost pretty much everything else. I only had Sabine and also Lando still on the table at the end of it, while he only had 2 guys from his vanguards. The AT-AT, I managed to swipe the leg off with the Darksaber in round 5 with the other AT-AT, and he had his heavy support. Final observations from the asset. It is a very good scenario. I think I would definitely use it if I wanted to challenge myself for a game because of the actual rules and the way that it needs to be played to get a victory in either way. I do not think that it is a great for an introductory game. Certainly if you have a couple of games under your belt, you bring this out and you can just showcase some of your really nice painted commanders, having all your super commander hero type sort of thing. Like I can certainly see a whole heap of stormtroopers on the outside coming in with the likes of your Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, maybe R2-D2, and C-3PO, all in the center sort of thing. Just that core hero group versus everyone else. That would be
thematically very fun to do. I think it would be a lot difficult to do as part of a training package or as a learner's event. I think I definitely would be using some of the other scenarios or even the skirmish types to do those types of introductory to the different steps. Still, I really enjoyed the game. I am surprised that I really enjoyed the game. Both times. I do think, yes, we do need to read the rules. Very important, read the rules. And there's pros and cons on how you can go about it. If I was the defender, I would be leaving Han a bit back or using a supportive commander like Leia, and just blasting in from one side to the far side maybe, or using Leia's ability to hand out those inspirations to remove the suppression when I'm trying to get in close, but keeping her behind other units so that my commander is there for the full length or at least 3/4 of the length of the game. Other things that I may have changed, well, maybe adding in more of the trooper unit might be of handy. I think the AT-ATs were perfect. I think they worked well. With regards to the T-47 land speeder, air speeder, it was fun and it certainly packed a punch. I think maybe if I was to do the list again, I'd probably give it the rear ground buzzer weapon as well, so that once it overflies while it's still doing the loop around, it can at least shoot into its rear arc. Or drop it completely and add in another trooper choice. The AT-ATs, I found that they were really good, having the laser cannon version as my sniper, as well as the flame version going in and just mitigating that cover helped a lot. And I think they were done really well. The only downside is if you bring them in close, the flamethrower one in close, be aware, lightsabers really are good at destroying armor, knocking off those legs. I think maybe if Cameron used his ability to climb up onto the building with his climbing, that might have changed the scenario a little bit, that I couldn't move Sabine normally, because obviously Sabine's got jump too. However, I still needed to keep on doing those, get that dodge ability sort of thing. So there is those pros and cons. The commander list itself, I don't think I will change too much. Maybe I might take out the environmental gear that I put on the Pathfinders, because it's defending, they won't be doing too much moving. So maybe changing that up for maybe another portable scanner. I will have to take into account points cost, because I don't want to kick over that 600. So in the comment, please indicate if you've had a game of Legion of this type of scenario that you said, or are you interested in finding out more about this organised play kit? Please leave a message for me and I will endeavour to reply to you. Alternatively, please like, please subscribe, leave a comment on this or any other of my videos, and I will endeavor to get back to you. My next set of videos I'm planning on working on will be from next Saturday's gaming up in Bendigo, where I'm going to do the set again, but against a couple of different people, hopefully. So I may do a video, I may not. If not, I do have some BattleTech that I'm currently working on, and I will be doing a video on them in the next week or two. But for now, from Ozysturm, I will see you next time on the table. Bye for now.